Welcome to our webcast on high performance team. This is part two of a two-part webcast. Hi, I'm Patrick Tien, CEO of Gazelle Systems, and looking forward to take you through this wonderful content. So thanks for joining us today. So in high performance teams, there was two parts of this webcast. The first part I did was what leaders need to do, and the second part today is about what teams need to do. Now I have a gift for you. You can download this people performance coaching tool that I'm going to be using throughout this webcast. And so before we go into the team part of this, I just wanted you to recall part one. In part one, I talked about the 4 things that leaders need to do. I'm just going to give you a 1-minute recall or review. And you can go to this link to actually watch this webcast on demand now. But there were 4 things we talked about that leaders need to do. The first is that you have to be committed to hiring only A managers, because A managers, or rather all managers, influence the work that the teams do. And a C manager cannot get A quality work from their team. So if you're trying to build high performance teams, the first thing you have to do is make sure that the leader of the team is a high performance guy or gal. Secondly, once you have that, you got to be clear on what the roles are, who's in it, and what's the accountability all about, right? Thirdly, you have to then have good job scorecards so that people understand what their roles are, what their jobs are, what success looks like. Agree on what success looks like. Figure out what skills you need, competence you need, and are they living our core values? So make sure you have a good job scorecard. And fourth and last, as a manager, you need to inspire a path of progress. Or I should say, as a leader, you need to inspire a path of progress. So that was our first webcast. And I just want to take a question from one of our clients that actually sent in a question for this webcast. And the question was this. One of the things I often struggle with is the empowerment balance. That is, striving to be a leader who provides guidance and support, and the one who empowers my team to be their own problem solvers. I also struggle with the best ways in which to communicate my vision for the department in a way that motivates team members to be proactive in offering up their own ideas for taking the journey. So, a couple of thoughts for you on this question. The first is that vision is best communicated written down. If you can actually share it verbally but also write it down, that would be great. Then you may want to consider creating a single point of focus for every quarter. If you have a single point of focus, you can use a daily question to drive that. So what are we doing today to impact our theme for the quarter? And then the question is, how do you empower your team to achieve? This is now after they buy into your goal and your plan, right? So you got to inspect what you expect. Now you got to remember that empowerment is not the same thing as abdication. In other words, you don't want to just abdicate your leadership and ask your teams to perform without any input from you. So I'd suggest that you agree on success measurements, red, yellow, green, your success criteria, and inspect the progress. And then you are therefore empowering your team to achieve the great agreed upon red, yellow, green success criteria. Okay, thanks for that question. Now let's go talk about teams. High performance teams, right? If you look at high performance teams have to have a rhythm of getting better. So I want you to shift your paradigm just a little bit. I want you to think about focusing on getting stronger, faster, better versus getting to a destination point. In other words, if you have teams or individuals that learn to improve themselves, they're going to progress up these circles. And these I show 4 circles here in this diagram where you can progress up. But you go beyond the 4 circles. The point here is that high performance teams are teams that understand and have a rhythm of improving themselves. And they will eventually surpass good teams or great teams who have no rhythm of improvement. So you got to think about how to get your high performance teams to continue to be high performance teams. And the only way to do that is they have a rhythm to improve themselves. 2 things for the team today. So these are the 2 main points I'm going to share with you today. One is you got to have a rhythm for getting stronger, faster, better for myself as the individual. And secondly, the team then has to learn to discuss, debate, and agree so they can work on things in alignment. Now, Liz Wiseman, one of my favorite speakers on performance, has this book, Multipliers, and she talks about how her research shows that the power of questions can help us to be much better leaders. And in doing so, we can be multipliers. We can get 2 to 3 times more performance from our teams. What I've found is that using the power of questions on myself works great too. So I believe that if you use questions on yourself and focus on owning it, you can actually get 4 times more performance from yourself. So 2 points for today, right? First one, stronger, better, faster. How do I get into a rhythm of making myself stronger, faster, better? First question I'm going to ask you is, do I care? Now, I know this sounds crazy, but not everyone cares about their own performance. So do I care? Do you care about your own performance? And what I'd like you to do is consider owning it. When I say owning it, most folks I've seen in companies don't own their progress. They don't have their switch on. They basically leave it up to the managers to direct them. And oftentimes they'll say things like, I don't have a career path, or I don't know what my career path is, or I don't know what I'm supposed to do to improve. Hey, newsflash, A players all care about their own progress and improvement. A players own their own progress and improvement. A players like us, we do not let bozos keep us down. And you know what I mean. I don't mean to be rude, but sometimes we get demotivated by our bosses. But so what? You know, even I have a bozo moment once or twice as a boss. So you own your own career and life. So why should you allow someone to demotivate you from being the best that you can be? So no. Start by deciding that you do care, and start by deciding that you're going to own it. This is what I call a minor major. It's a minor tweak to your psyche that will just, help you to 4x your performance. Let me tell you a personal story. When I was at Oracle, my first and only real job back in 1988. Okay, I just dated myself. But anyway, back in 1988, I was working for Oracle. I just joined Oracle in the consulting division. And when I arrived, Oracle for Macintosh just came out. And of course, even back then, I was a Mac freak. And so I wanted to go get some training for Oracle for Macintosh. And I asked my manager if I could go to California to get trained. I was working out of the Washington, D.C. office. Now, I didn't just ask him if I can go get trained. I figured out what motivated my boss. I figured out and I knew that my boss was paid a bonus based on the billable hours of the team. And so I shared with my boss that I really wanted to go to to get trained in California. And I was willing to make up the billable hours and teach everyone in the office what I learned when I got back. That way, I would make up the billable hours and we would not have a deficit in revenue generation for the office. He said yes. Now, I found out later that he did not send people to California for training. I, on the other hand, went whenever I needed to, for whatever courses I wanted to, and he was always supportive. So why is that? Well, I'll share with you why that is. Because I owned it. And I also made sure that I understood what it took to make my manager successful at the same time, right? So you don't want to own it in a selfish way. You really have to figure out how you can work as a team member to make your team successful as well. So a few questions to ask yourself, look in the mirror and ask yourself if you own it. And, the only way to get better is if we are honest with ourselves. So a couple of things as you look in the mirror. How do you know if you own it? Well, first of all, do I know my own red, yellow, green success criteria for my job? If I don't, you can't own it because you don't know what you're supposed to achieve. Secondly, do I care more about it than my boss? In other words, do I care more about succeeding and achieving my goals than my boss? If my boss or manager cares more about me achieving my goals, then I'm sorry. He or she owns it. I don't own it, okay? So I need to care more than my boss. And then thirdly, do I find ways to get stronger, faster, better? So think about that for a second, but let me give you a couple of ways to get better. So I got 3 steps for you. The first step is begin with the end in mind. What results do I have to drive? So go back to the job scorecard that I did in part 1 and take a look at the success criteria for yourself. This is just an example of a COO position. But let's say this is yours. Then go and work with your boss or your manager. Make sure that you have a clear understanding of the success criteria. What are the metrics? What are the measurements that you are accountable to the company to succeed in? Step 2, get feedback. Yes, I know feedback's hard. And in fact, people who really want to own it sometimes have difficulty getting critical, positive feedback. But that's really important if you want to get better. So remember, you want to get stronger, faster, better. So seek candid feedback and ask your manager. I've circled the 3 areas on this form where you can get feedback. Get feedback on your skills and competencies. Get feedback on whether or not you're a good team member in the company. Are you living the core values? And get feedback from your manager. Anything and everything he or she has to say. By the way, if you don't agree with the feedback, you don't have to take it. But say thank you, right? So person's trying to help you, get feedback, and then you decide why, because you own it, right? You own it. The third point is get coaching. Now here's where it kind of gets interesting. I want you to get coaching, but I want you to create your own coaching plan. Why? Because you can probably already tell that the theme I have going on here is owning it, right? So if my manager says to me, Patrick, you need to get coaching, then again, he cares or she cares more about my coaching and he or she owns it. If I said to my manager, hey, I want some coaching, then I own it and I care more. So that, like I said, these are minor majors. I don't care. I care more that you own your coaching plan than you actually get coaching. So get coaching. Create your own coaching plan. So here's how. Oh, by the way, when you do this, if you're going to advise your team members to do this as a leader, I would start with my A performers. Why is that? 2 reasons. The first is most companies and most leaders do not invest enough in our A players. We spend a lot of time with our B and C players. So first, let's go invest more in our A players. You're going to get more performance out of them in the long run if you invest more in your A players. It's kind of like choosing to invest in a stock that's growing versus a stock that's coming down if you are an investor. Okay, so invest more in your own A players. And the second reason is if you use this tool and suggest a poor performer do this, the poor performer already has a negative attitude and he or she will view this as a probation performance plan. Now, I don't know about you. I've sent quite a few people in probation. I just haven't had that many people come out of it, right? Other than getting fired. So don't start this with a poor performer. Now, once you have this working with a few A players, then you can actually use this tool with a poor performer because they already see that the A players are using it and they'll think, wow, it's good enough for Jack and Jack's an A player. So, you know, it must be good enough for me. So anyway, don't do this with a C player because otherwise it will be known as your probation improvement plan versus your performance improvement plan, and it won't work. Okay, so let's get into this. Stronger, better, faster. Now you own your own coaching plan. So what you do as leaders is you give this to your team members and you have them own their own coaching plan, right? So let me talk about it from the me perspective now. I'm going to own my own coaching plan. This is a rhythm I want us to have. If performance does not happen, or rather improvement does not happen based on events. Improvements only happen if you have a process and a rhythm to get stronger, better, and faster. So every single quarter, what is the one thing I want to improve this quarter? Go put that down in the first box. I want you to think about getting to be a better version of myself. And I in one of my keynotes for a client recently, I shared with them, and I speak to this group once a year, and I asked them a question. I said, hey, I've come here a few years now. For those who've heard me a couple of years ago, am I better? Am I better? I kind of put it out there. Luckily for me, people say, yes, you are a better speaker today. And so I shared with them, and I was actually sharing this tool with them as well. I shared with them that I have worked hard to be a better speaker today than I was yesterday. And I'm going to work hard to be a better speaker tomorrow or next year when I come back and speak to this group again. I want to be a better version of myself, right? And that's what I want to do. So first, I got to own it. I want to be a better version of myself. So what do I want to achieve? And where do I want to get stronger, faster, and better? Now, the first area I circled, what do I want to achieve? That has to do with the result I'm supposed to deliver. And for that, you want to get aligned with your manager. So go look at the job scorecard, align with your manager, and really the desired result from job scorecard that you have should translate over here directly. You should be able to copy it over here. It should be the same thing. If it's not the same thing, it's a clear indication that you're not in alignment with your manager and your team. So get aligned. That's the first circle. The second one is, now think about yourself. Where do I want to get stronger, faster, and better? Okay? Where do I want to get stronger, faster, and better? And who can help me? Now, your coach can be a manager, but doesn't have to be a manager. Sometimes it's challenging that the coach is your manager. Why is that? Because sometimes it's hard for us to get naked with our manager. We're always concerned that when it comes to performance measurement of us, salary increase and things like that, we're sometimes concerned that we don't want to show our boss or manager that we have all these weaknesses. So, if you work for a larger firm, maybe you can have someone else coach you that is not your manager, right? Now, if you have an awesome relationship with a manager, if you have one of those great managers out there, then you are lucky and no problem getting coaching with your manager as long as you can get naked, okay? And really work hard on yourself and not feel like you have to hold back because you're concerned that will affect you in your yearly performance, annual raise, review, that kind of stuff. I wanted to give you an example. An example of this is a CEO friend of mine. I took away the names, etc. But it's made up of a couple of different CEOs, but most of these things are real. So as an example here, this person's a CEO, and he's really focused on compound annual growth rate. Compound annual growth rate. His goal is to maintain a 50% year-over-year CAGR. If he has less than 30% growth year-over-year, that's unacceptable. His investors will be unhappy with him. Okay? And then his super green, his stretch goal is to have a 75% CAGR. And then we looked at the skills and competencies that he had. And you know how I am, I like to use the name Jack to protect the guilty, and in this case, the innocent. So in Jack's case, he figured out that on a scale of 1 to 10, forecasting results, introducing new products, listening to customers are the areas that he really wanted to take a look at. And he noticed that he didn't have very strong listening skills. So listening to customers was a 4, or rather, in this case, he felt that he and his team actually didn't have very strong listening skills where customers are concerned. Introducing new products they're pretty good at, and forecasting results, not so good at, right? It's a 6. So he put down some notes here, action to take, start forecasting, tracking my accuracy. And then, if you look at living our core values, read and apply, grade by choice. If you look at the rating, or rather the assessment, right, you'll notice that Keep Smart is where he had the lowest score. And so in this case, one of his simple actions is to read and apply, grade by choice by Jim Collins. Now, I want you to notice a couple of things. First is that the actions to take are really simple, and they are actions. So you want to avoid generic statements, things that when you look at, you can't go, that's actually something I'm going to do. So key off on the word actions. You want to take actions. Okay, and then how does this translate over to the coaching tool? Well, he decided that he would focus on forecasting and he focused on listening, right? And then his coach would be a buddy in his forum, right? His buddy is called Mike, another fictitious name. So Mike, CEO, forum buddy, he's going to do that. And then, go ahead and set out the coaching dates. Suggest that you meet with your coach once a month. Once a month is the rhythm I would suggest. Now, oftentimes when we're doing this, it'd be great if we're helping someone and being helped at the same time. So I want to give you a few questions to help you begin this journey. Lots of people say to me, Patrick, I love to do this coaching thing, but oh my goodness, I don't even know where to start as far as asking people questions. So here are a couple of questions. Here are like my top 5, right? And these are generic. I don't have to know your job. And here's the key. I don't have to know your job to help you. Okay? If I have to know your job to help you, I'm acting more like a consultant. But really, as a coach, I just need to help ask you a few questions, fire up your brain a little bit, be empathetic, and provide a safe place for you to discuss and make decisions about your progress. Okay, here's some questions. So, why is that important? How would you accomplish that? Who's going to help you with that? And what are some pitfalls you might avoid? And my favorite one is the last one. Whenever I'm not sure what to ask, I always just tell the guy or gal in front of me to just tell me more. That sounds very interesting. Just tell me more. And I'm serious. Armed with these 5 questions. The fourth one, the last one is really a continuation. Please tell me more. You can really help a lot of people. Okay, now you have a coach, but what about a buddy? I'd suggest having a buddy for accountability. Now, you can also be accountable to your coach once a month, but I would suggest that accountability makes this serious. So what are one or two things that you want to do every day that may help you get fast, stronger, faster, better? I'd say limit it to one or two. So I call it my daily two. And what I would do is pick a buddy, pick a friend, and commit with him or her that you would email this person every day. Did you or did you do not do these two things? Now, this idea I got from Marshall Goldsmith, who wrote the book, What Got You Here Won't Get You There. And in his case, he actually suggested doing a lot more. I think he suggested doing 5 or 7 items a day. I'm pretty happy with 2. If you want to do more, go right ahead, but at least do 2. So did I do the 2 things I'm supposed to do today? Okay. All right. Now, as the second thing you got to do, right? The first one is you want to work on yourself. High performance team needs to know how to work with each other. So the second key thing today is, how do you work with each other? I suggest that you learn how to discuss, debate, and agree. This is harder than it sounds, because lots of times high performance folks, A players, have their opinions. And sometimes we want to make sure that we are heard, but we don't necessarily hear other people's opinions very well. So I think we want to learn how to discuss, debate, and agree. The key here is you want to hear as well as be heard. What I've found is that oftentimes folks may say they agree with something, but don't actually agree with it because they did not feel heard. And you may have seen this scenario. Here's how it works. You get into a room, you discuss an issue, we all seem to have agreed on something, and we walk out the door with a decision. Next day, you notice that we all agreed on this decision, but somehow some members of the team are not executing on that decision. And so you wonder, were they lying to me when they agreed? Well, maybe not. I think they actually did agree with you, but they didn't internalize it, right? Now, why is that? What I found is that unless the person has been given an opportunity to share his or her concerns and opinions, in other words, unless the person feels that he or she has been heard, that person is going to have great difficulty getting on the same page, doing a different decision that he or she would have made. So I would suggest that when you have things to discuss, slow down, make sure the team discusses, debates, and then come to an agreement. So problems go away when we hear each other and we feel heard. This is the picture of a crew team, right? And a crew team, the championship crew teams that win are the ones that row in the best synchronization and alignment. That's why I love the image of a crew team. And so to row in alignment, you got to hear your team. Your teammates got to hear you. You must feel heard. You must feel heard. Okay? We live in a people-to-people world, a P2P world. So let me give you some thoughts here. Crawl, walk, run. In crawl, let's just hear and learn to be heard. In walk, now let's be helpful and collaborate. Let's work on each other's issues. By the way, it's really hard to accept someone's input unless I feel heard. So therefore, crawl is just to learn how to be heard and how to hear. And walk is, now you can collaborate. Now you can help each other on their issues. And run is now you can use a system, a software, an enterprise social system or something that orchestrates collaboration. But I want to point out that this is run. Now, I'm a software guy. And lots of times I think people make the mistake of taking software they think works, throwing people at it, and then wondering why the system didn't work, right? It's not the software, guys. It's the people. The true operating system of every software that's supposed to help performance in a company is the people. We are the true operating system. So before you turn on some collaborative system, make sure that our human beings have gone through the crawl and walk. Okay. Now we have seen teams make good use of what we call social enterprise software systems and get performance. So we'll talk about it a little bit. I got a question from a client about that, and I'll take that in the next couple of slides. But I want to first give you a formula or a process, 6 steps to do this discuss, debate, and agree thing, right? First is, let's say we're having a discussion on an issue. Let's first be clear on our objective. Let's make sure we can begin with the end in mind. So what's the objective? What do we want to get out of today's discussion? And then, what are the facts? What facts do we know? And by the way, I would suggest you have the facts out there before we discuss, because when we get to discussions, those are really opinions, right? Especially debates. So what are the facts? Put the facts out there first. What points do we want to discuss? And then let's spend some time debating or brainstorming that topic. You capture the ideas on the board, and then finally you have a list of points and ideas. You now can go into a voting and agreeing process. So 6 steps to do your discuss, debate, agree. I had a client send me a question in preparation for this webcast because I knew it was going to be on demand. And the question that I had received actually was about how to, let me read the question from Brian. And the question from Brian was, I run a maintenance, the company has less than 100 people, it's a software company. My role is to manage our support and implementation teams. The company's called Maintenance Connection. Until now, we have escalated certain incidents from the front line to a technical team that I do not manage. We are now merging these into one team, about 8 to 10 total support persons that I will oversee. I'm excited to take down some of the walls between team members. One of my ideas is to create partners and teams that work together throughout the day. The team would include an entry-level resource, a tech resource, a senior lead resource for each team, and to have them in constant contact all day to increase the speed, resolution, and quality of resolutions. At this point, I'm not sure if it will increase or decrease productivity. I would be curious on Patrick's thoughts. So Brian, here are a couple of thoughts, right? First, small teams are great. Cross-functional teams, great. Give them the ownership to solve problems. And then the question to ask yourself is, what can you measure your team performance? Is it the velocity of incidents solved, right? So I love your idea here. Cross-functional, all good. But make sure that we all can agree on what success looks like. And so one idea could be the velocity of incidents solved. And then measure and watch them improve as a team. Focus on their process. Let them get stronger and faster and better as a team, but let them get the results to you. Now, when you first start this, you might actually find a decrease in productivity, okay? Because we have to learn to work as a team. You put 5 high-performance guys together or gals together on a team, you might actually get lower performance initially until they learn to work as a team, okay? So thank you very much for that question. For our rhythm clients, which are on the webcast, I've got some more thoughts for you. For rhythm clients, how to use rhythm as a collaborative tool. I'm showing you a screen here from a priority. So you're already statusing every week, guys. And now what you want to do is focus on other teammates. Take a look at the dashboards and ask yourself, where can I help? 2 ways to help. One way is I've circled here the notes. You can put an idea in a note or note sections of the priority. So for example, in this particular example, this HR person is having trouble filling qualified candidates. And so the idea here is, let's have a geek wine tasting party and invite developers from other software firms in the area. It's just an idea. Then you can discuss this in your weekly meeting, discuss, debate, and agree. Do not let your ego hurt you. In other words, if you put ideas out there and the idea is not implemented, that's okay. That's okay. It's perfectly fine. Don't worry about it. Okay, so today what we did was we covered 2 things for the team, right? The first is a rhythm of getting stronger, faster, better for myself, right? And then the second is learning how to work better as a team. Learn to discuss, debate, and agree. So when you talk about high-performance team, you really need 3 ingredients, First, you need a great manager. I covered that in my first webcast. Without an A-level, A performance manager, you would not get a high-performance team. I don't care how hard you try. In fact, your high-performance team will quit on you. Now, within the team, 2 things for the team members. One is we got to get stronger, better, faster ourselves, right? We got to get stronger, better, faster ourselves so that we can contribute more. But secondly, the strongest guys and gals on the team who don't learn how to discuss, debate, and agree will not make the team work better. So the key thing here is you got to have the team work better. So those are the 2 things we covered today. Don't forget to download my gift to you, right? You should be able to get this from our website. And I hope you enjoyed this webcast. If you need more help, we can help you. Come to our website. And also, please come to my blog if you need more help, if you want to see more articles on execution and high-performance teams. Thank you very much. I hope that you found this helpful for you today. And I look to see you soon. Bye.